so much for having me, and welcome to my kitchen. I'm grateful to be able to be at this virtual table with all of you this morning or this afternoon, losing track of time, but in the time of COVID, time is all relative, right? So thank you so much again for being here as we are talking about COVID-19, the pandemic, and I know that this can be a really frustrating time for folks. I certainly am feeling that as well. But I know that the fact that you're here means that you are ready and willing to make a difference to protect yourself and your relatives and all of those around you. So before 2020, a lot of us may have been familiar with the phrase GOTV as get out the vote. But I have since come to love this new version, which is get out the vaccine. And since those first doses have arrived, it's been a really critical mission, especially now as we face the rising Omicron variant. After declining cases in December, I know that it's really frustrating for all of us to start the new year seeing a rise in a new and more contagious variant. And research shows that Omicron is more contagious. So we know that Minnesota is going to see cases rising in the days and weeks ahead, like we're seeing across the nation. Minnesotans have done a really good job of navigating this pandemic, and right now we need to double down on the protection efforts we know work to keep all of us safe. So each one of us has the power to do a little something to make sure that we can protect our loved ones from COVID-19. And first and foremost, that protection comes in the form of a life-saving COVID-19 vaccine, which helps prevent infection and protect you from severe symptoms, hospitalization, and death if you do contract COVID-19. And making sure that people have access to the vaccine is how we save lives. And it is deeply personal to me. Some of you may know that I lost my big brother, Ron, in March of 2020. He was the second person to die in the state of Tennessee from complications due to COVID-19. And he was a proud Marine and a proud member of White Earth, and I miss him every day. Literally just weeks before, we were talking about the summer vacation that we were going to take to Tennessee to see him. So this has always been very personal to me, and that is the lens through which I see this virus. The loss at the beginning of 2020 shaped my entire experience. And so when I had the opportunity to receive my vaccine through my tribe, through the White Earth Urban Office, I brought my brother's pocket watch with me, and I held it as I received my first dose. So that was an emotional experience for me, and it was also meaningful because I knew that my brother, who was a fierce protector of our family, would want me to do everything I could to ensure that our community, our loved ones were safe. So that brought some relief to me, and I hope for those of you who have been vaccinated and that your loved ones who've been vaccinated, that has brought a little bit of relief for you as well. So like many people, I have also experienced COVID myself, and our family did as well. So our COVID experience started off in my family with a sore throat and a headache. One Friday in October, we were getting ready. I have an 8-year-old skateboarder at home, and we were getting ready to go out for a play date. And my daughter, Siobhan, told me that she wasn't feeling well. We had an at-home test at hand, and I said, before we go out the door, let's give you this test, and it came back positive. So I had a lot of strong feelings over the course of the pandemic, but certainly carrying the loss of my brother, and then when my baby tested positive, that was incredibly scary. We were able to stay home and take care of her as she has symptoms. We are so grateful that they were mild. But later that week, I started to feel ill, and so did my husband. And so we both tested and were positive. But so I want to make sure that take it from me. If you need a story to share, COVID-19 is no joke. And we did not feel well. We're very, very fatigued, and it was difficult. But I have to say that I am so grateful that we had vaccines, that my husband and I were vaccinated, because I know that we would have felt even worse had we not been. And then once our vaccines were available for 5 to 11-year-olds, Siobhan headed over to the middle school gym, and she got her shot and her first dose at a school clinic. So, we all have been impacted by it. And I'm sure you know someone who has had COVID. Maybe you've had it yourself, or if you have lost somebody to this virus, I am deeply sorry, and my heart breaks for you as well. And so just how important it is for us to all do what we need to do to take care of each other. It's impacted my family, but it's also impacted our communities, our state, and our entire world at the macro level. And that impact, very candidly, has not been felt equally. At the beginning of the pandemic, there was this phrase that I heard quite often, which was COVID-19 is the great equalizer. But frankly, nothing could be further from the truth. COVID-19 has fallen hardest on BIPOC communities, people with disabilities and pre-existing conditions, low-income families, our elders, and many others. So rather than erasing inequity, it has only exposed and exacerbated those disparities that we see in our state. We have a lot of work to do to grapple with these systemic disparities, but one thing that we all can do is get vaccinated. And it's about protecting yourself, of course, but it's also about protecting people who may be at heightened risk of contracting COVID. One of the most challenging parts of this pandemic was not being able to hug my mom or have my daughter Siobhan go to grandma's for sleepovers and for visits, but we knew that it was a step that could help keep her safe. So now, that we are vaccinated and trying to continue to remain safe, we get to do hugs and sleepovers with grandma, and that's a big deal. But I share these stories with you because I want you to know that I am not just, the lieutenant governor sitting behind a screen in my kitchen talking to you. I'm a mom and a daughter and a sister and someone who takes this really, really seriously, because I know that I don't want what's happened to our family to happen to you or to people that you love. So whether you're convincing a loved one to get vaccinated or talking about issues that you care about with a voter, GOTV, get out the vaccine, right? It's super important to be honest and vulnerable, and it allows us to reach people in a way that is authentic and I think change making. And sometimes it takes 3 or 4 or 5 conversations, but don't give up. It really matters. So I want you to think about what the pandemic has changed for you. And what stories can you share from your experience? Because I can give you all the facts and figures and statistics, and I'm sure you have heard them all, but it's those stories that come from our heart and from our gut that can really make a difference in convincing people that this is something that they need to do. So your narrative matters, your story matters, your stake in this matters, your health and your well-being matters, and your social connections matter. But most importantly, right now, I want to say that your joy and the joy of others matters. This pandemic has changed a lot for folks during the last 2 years, and we are still going through it. And I know it's hard, but we will get through it together. So you're here today to learn and listen and to create a plan for change. And no one is more well equipped to change the hearts and minds of other students than their fellow students. So you're an expert in your own life, in your own experience, and in your own community, and you know what matters to you and to people like you. So We need people like you to connect with those who have not yet gotten the vaccine or who may be hesitant to do so. So every single vaccine gets us closer to finally ending this pandemic. So I hope you're able to take what you learned today and put it into action. I am so grateful that you are taking the time to do this. And as we work through this next phase of the pandemic, we have to dig deep and keep doing the work. But I also want you to take care of yourselves and to figure out how to sustain yourself in this moment, what brings you joy. I appreciate your comments in the chat. Large earrings bring me a lot of joy and are one of the ways that I get to, dress up a little bit on Zoom. So I appreciate the love for these, but figure out what brings you joy and how you can take care of yourself, Val. So I really appreciate you stepping into your leadership. Miigwech, just a lot of thanks for you doing that, for all the work that you have done to get here and all the work that you will do in the future. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.